Hi, welcome to the Hortons Books channel. We're here in the United States and I'm here to visit with a client of mine, and I'm going to help him, or I have helped him with his library and his collection. But we're going to go and take a look around his collection, so follow me. So here we are at the entrance to the warehouse, and I'll introduce you to Alan. How are you, Alan?
Fine, Ben.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
This is Alan McDonnell, and we're here also with Christopher Miele, who you've seen from some other videos. Chris has advised Alan on his collection and helped him compile the literature collection, but also the cars as well. So give us a bit of your backstory. What cars did you like as a child? Where did this all start, really?
Well, it started with my father. He had a 72 green Vette. We'll look at that in just a second. But he liked to work me, and but he rewarded me with money. And so, as the age of 5, I used to be able to, cut grass, work, get a little money, and as soon as I'd save up $5, I'd go down to the hardware store and buy a model. One of the first models was of this motorcycle. Of course, in 1969, the movie Easy Rider came out. So I probably built this bike from a model perspective 3 or 4 different times. That's why this is in the collection. Some of the things I have in the collection were because my father wouldn't allow me to have them, like these Trail 70s here. So I always wanted a mini bike, and he wouldn't let me have it because he didn't want me to get injured. I can appreciate that now, that you have children and grandchildren. I also wanted a pea picker and a lemon peeler from Schwinn for Christmas.
So can you just give us a guided tour and just give us a brief history of some of the cars?
Sure. Well, let's start over here. I'll go with the car that started it all. My dad purchased a car like this in 1972. So it was green. He and my mom really had a preference for green. It had the saddle interior, and I just recall being barely tall enough to see over the dashboard, but when I was riding in the car, I could overlook the dashboard. You could see how the fenders flared up on each side, and then you have the gauge pods in the center of the dash. So I used to think I was riding in a race car. So that was neat to me. So I purchased this one and had it redone in the original colors that he had, really in memory of that. So in my adult life, the first car that I actually purchased was this 1970 Donnybrook green Corvette. I was actually on a search for this one, and I couldn't find it for probably 2 or 3 years. So I went to a Corvette show, and this was available, and it was close enough to this one, so I decided to purchase this one. I purchased it from a couple that had spent years restoring it. They had a body shop, and they did all the work themselves. And the poor wife, she cried the day that I took delivery of it, and she asked me one favor. She said, please don't do anything to modify the car. Within 6 months, it was modified. So 2 years after that, I ran into them at another Corvette show, and she followed me out to the parking lot, and as soon as I started the car, she knew it had been modified. She cried again. So I didn't mean to make her cry twice, but I did. But I was always fond of the 1969 Corvette factory side pipes, Riverside Gold. This one has black interior. This was a judge car, had NCRS Top Flight awarded to it. The thing is pristine, and it runs really good. The 67 Corvette over here, I purchased because I have a 63 split window that has a Stinger hood and is black like this. It's a modified car. But so I thought this would be great for bookends. I'm not real partial to convertibles, but I do like it with the hard top on it. But seemed like the mass is kind of like convertibles, so I display it like this.
This is a rare car, the Bricklin.
So, my father was into cars, and I used to hear him talk about Bricklins growing up. And I've only seen one or two in my lifetime, but I had models of the Bricklin. So I probably built 2 or 3 models when I was a child, and I was always enamored with the way that the doors opened. So the doors.
So I also noticed that you obviously like the Tomasos having a whole line of them.
I do like the Tomasos. I just really love the styling cue, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, but I really thought the style of the front was real indicative of the GTO. So the way that the front fenders flare out and they kind of swoop in, the rake of the windshield, etc. But again, with my dad being in the cars when I was young, he had mentioned Di Tomaso. Really had never seen a Pantera ever until I bought my first one. This is the first Pantera I purchased. It's a GT5S. S is for steel body, and it's a 1985, and it's a one-of-one car. It's the only black and gold with gold-plated hardware that the Di Tomaso factory ever made. Some of these came about from buying a gentleman's collection out of Austin, but this is another GT5S. This is an Amerisport, where that's a European version. There was only about 30 Amerisports imported into the country in the GT5S. These two are kind of sister cars, and have them tailored different ways. The other black and gold one is mostly stock. The black on black is heavily modified. It has the European bumpers versus the factory bumpers and a few other mods. So this is the second Pantera I ever purchased. I saw this on Bring a Trailer about 2 years ago. So it was a barn find, and there was a doctor that owned this that was single his entire life. He loved to show it, and his dad had a collection of pre-war cars. There was an attorney assigned to handling the estate, and they liquidated all of the barn find cars, and in the corner of the barn was a trailer. And when they, for whatever reason, I can't explain why, they didn't open up the trailer for over a year while they liquidated the collection. When they opened it up, this was in it. And I still have his medical jacket that came with the car with the Di Tomaso patch on the back. But this was sent to Pantera Miami and upgraded for cooling system, air conditioning. The guy that restored the car told me I hit the jackpot because I had mine-trained headers on it, which I wasn't aware of at the time, but now I have an appreciation for mine-trained. This again is a heavily modified Pantera, likened after a Group 4 factory car. It is fuel injected, but has the 8 stacks to mimic 8 Weber carburetors.
Yeah, that's unreal.
I don't know if you want to show the engine on it. I mean, the engine open that's up to Ben.
Well, you can kind of see from the back. That's unreal. I suppose that's pretty loud.
Believe it or not, this one with the mine train headers, that's loud.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, 1987 Amerisport was imported to the U.S. and assembled by Kirk Evans. This is a really neat car. I bought this from a Ford dealer in mid-America. I've had this for a couple of years. It's totally been going through, sorted, drives really well. And then I have this other 87 Pantera here, which is highly modified. Somebody did extensive body work, and although the seams are typically rounded, you can see how they squared all the seams off here. and it has kind of special seats. The engine didn't receive a lot of horsepower upgrades, but is really detailed well, so it presents itself well if I were to show it.
So we'll head down now to the Ferrari collection. So yeah, here we are in the Ferrari room, and Chris was heavily involved in acquiring a lot of these cars, is that right?
He wasn't heavily involved. He was the acquisition man. Yeah. But when my children were younger, I used to race. And I did a series called Viper Days. And they used to enjoy going to the track, so they would come around and we would go kind of all over the country. And the last year that I raced, they were in their early teen years, and they weren't too enamored with sitting out at a hot track all weekend long. So after I finished that season, I said, I'm selling the race car, and I just want some cars that I can drive on the street. That's really when I started getting into car collecting. So the first Ferrari I ever purchased was a 599 over there. And I really love the front engine Ferraris with the 12-cylinder. To me, it's a certain amount of panache. I like to call it a businessman's coupe. Whatever, you can drive it anywhere, you can take it out for dinner, you can show it, but it's just a really versatile car. And what attracts me to cars is always the colors. And this is a really rare color, right, Chris?
Oh yeah, this is
On a 599.
yeah, Rosso Scuderia with crema. So it's not a color combination that you normally see, but it's a unique color combination, and it's it's in spectacular shape. So this was the car that when we first met, we were talking about the 599, and then obviously it merged into the 599 that's over there, which is a really, really, really special 599.
And why is that so special?
So that car was actually a car that I knew about. This car was Jason Castriota's personal car. Jason ordered this car for his father, and it was, they had a total of 29 599 GTB 6-speeds that came to the United States. This is the first one of 2008. Most of the cars that came in were 2007s, and they went all the way through 2011. This particular car is the only one that's blu notte metallizzato. And blu notte metallizzato is a color that Pininfarina used. Jason was the head designer, was actually the designer on this project at that time that worked on this car. So he's accredited with designing the 599. If you look at the front end of this car, most people immediately notice that the front end of the car looks different. When you look at the standard 599 versus this car, this is how the car was truly envisioned by Jason. And as time went on, obviously, when they were going back and forth, Pininfarina with Ferrari, they softened the car up from what you see over there on the Rosso Scuderia car versus the front of this car. And again, the front hood on this car is standard. This is the stock hood. But the fenders, the shape of the headlights, the front bumper, the grille, which is inspired of an old 250 GT look, it's much more aggressive, much more angular. So Jason went ahead and sent this car back to Italy, and he worked with the folks, I believe, that he used when he was obviously putting together concepts with Pininfarina, and they went ahead and they created the car as he envisioned it. He brought the car back to the States, and Jason mentioned to me at the time that, hey, I'm thinking about maybe getting rid of the car. And at the same exact time, I was looking for a 288 GTO for Alan. And that car also came from a famous person. That's the Ralph Lauren 288 original GTO.
Wow.
And that car, unfortunately, is not here right now. It's on its way to Abu Dhabi for Cavallino Classic Abu Dhabi. And everybody will get a chance to see it. But it was showing at Cavallino Classic Modena, and it's a superstar. And then as it started to continue on, Alan and I would be chatting, and he'd say, hey, I really like the F12 TDF. And again, this F12 TDF is Giallo Modena Tristrato. It's a triple layer paint, and this was the way the car was sent out as original press car. You know, this was the car that they showed to the world. This is the color. So Alan said, look, I don't have a yellow car in the collection and I really like to go ahead and get one. So we were able to track this car down and add this one to the collection.
I have to say, I'm not a big fan of modern Ferraris, but I love this car. This is one of the best modern Ferraris, I think. Not so modern now, though.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's the final run of the Pininfarina car. So it is a special car. And it really is a unique color combination. And in between, obviously acquiring the F12 TDF, we had the 288 GTO, and we started chatting about, Alan and I were chatting about the F40, and we went ahead and we got the F40. So let's take a walk over to the F40. So the F40, this is a Euro spec car, and this particular car, the best part about this car really is that it has about 15,000 kilometers, but the weave is so pronounced when you look at the paint on this car, especially if you come over here, and I'm sure you could show it to the audience, when you just look at the roof and you see the reflection into the Ferrari sign, you can really see how pronounced the weave is on this car. And you could see it all the way throughout the front bonnet. And it was a really spectacular example. So when this car became available, we were pretty aggressive. We chased it and we said, hey, let's go ahead and put that in the collection. And Alan's had some fun with it. We took it to Capolino Classic Modena, not Modena, actually Palm Beach. But we took it there and we were having some fun, having a ride around town, and we were making some noise with it. So it's a great car, real special place in Ferrari's history, and it's just an unbelievable car to drive. It really is.
And next to it is another unbelievable car.
Yeah, this particular car is actually super special because this was the car that Road and Track magazine. We actually have the magazine copy inside of the car. This is the car that they used for the test in 1975. So in here we have the magazine from June 1975, and Road and Track magazine tested the car, and this is the actual car that was used in the magazine. So it's kind of a really neat car, great story on it, and it was one of the very, very, very early 365 GT4 BBs that actually came into the United States. In this particular car, what makes it so special for me are the seats. So these are referred to as the jute seats, and you can see it's more of a fabric style seat. It's almost like a burlappy feel, but it's really a special car, and this car has been fully restored. It was a long project to do. Alan actually was, the car came to somebody's attention, and then I brought it to Alan's attention, and we were looking at a BB512 at the time. And we were going back and forth between a BB512 and a BB512i, and this particular car came up, and it happened to be literally right down the road from here. So the two guys met, Alan met this other gentleman, and they worked out a deal. But we got some other cool stuff. We got a Formula One motor from 1990, and this was one of the motors that were used at that time. This was another one that we added in, and there's a few other motors floating around in here. We have a 365 GTC side draft carburetor motor. We actually have a 206 Dino motor on that side. And then you could see when you scan around the room, you could see there's different luggage sets from Scudoni and for the different cars. And we went ahead and we kind of took it to the next step. And that's what this room's about.
You know, talking about the magazine in the 365 there, and also these booklets on top of this engine. And that's the reason that I'm here, to help Alan with his collection. Every good car collection needs a library or a Automobilia collection, and Chris and I have been helping Alan for some years put that together. And come and have a look what we've been doing for the last 3 days. When we first arrived, this room was empty. And today, about an hour ago, we finally finished. And you can see this wonderful library, literature, and ephemera collection. And I have to say, I've worked on a number of libraries, and probably not many people know that I do that, but that's one of the parts of my job is helping people to create such rooms. And this, without doubt, was the best thought about, best designed room I've ever worked in. And it honestly feels like being in a Ferrari factory store. It's incredible. And it's got a fantastic feel to it. The Ferrari sign above the wall there came from Europe, and we had that shipped over. I was incredibly nervous about having that shipped over, but it made it safely here. And so let's just take a look around here. So we have original Ferrari team clothing from the Tommy Hilfiger era onto the Fiat era, onto the Puma era. We have original Scudoni leather pieces, which are incredibly hard to find. Original Formula One parts from the 90s, 99. We have limited edition books. Some rare BBR models. We have the most wonderful collection of Schumacher signed and race used pieces here. Original Ferrari luggage, completely brand new, never used. And these two cabinets here are particularly special. So everything in this cabinet is Rubens Barrichello, race used, signed. And then on to the other side, being customers of mine, recognize these books. This is both editions of the sales drive from Maranello. And obviously talking about factory brochures, all these drawers here. So Alan has an incredible collection of brochures, and we've spent hours and hours putting these in chronological order. You can see how well ordered they are. And then we'll just move down the other side here. And at Horton's, our bread and butter, the books. So we have some very rare editions there in fantastic condition. This is one of the rarest pieces in this room, which is a perpetual calendar from the early 60s in absolutely pristine condition. We have, runs of various magazines, and again, you can see how well ordered everything is in these bespoke made drawers. And then this is another particularly special piece. Actually, Chris, can you explain what this is? Because you originally owned this piece, didn't you?
Yeah, so this piece actually was something that was commissioned from the Ferrari foundry. The head of the foundry commissioned this piece. And the material that's used for this is the aluminum that is used in the engines for the F40. And they made 5 pieces, and one went to the President of the Italian Republic, one went to the Scudoni family, one went to the President of Ferrari, one went to the Pope, and the last one went to the head of the foundry. So it'll be your guess on where it came from. I could surely tell you it's not the Scudoni one, because that one is still there at the Scudoni factory. So this isn't obviously the Scudoni piece. So this piece actually came across that I was able to purchase it about 20 years ago. And I said, hey, let's go ahead and, I knew that Alan was going ahead and putting together this fantastic space. And I said, look, there's certain things that I have that I think would be much more appreciated here, and especially that Alan has an F40. So it was a really great opportunity. And obviously the original Scudoni luggage sets of that, you obviously could talk more about the Rivals book and some of the other things. This is a super, super, super rare piece. The GTO luggage is very, very, very hard to come by. Obviously 272 cars, not everybody went ahead and got the Scudoni luggage. And Alan actually has a couple of the pieces. We actually have multiple pieces of that. We actually have multiple sets of the F40. And to find the original sets in pristine condition is quite difficult. So this was an opportunity to go ahead and take things that have come across, especially, I look at the luggage set on the SA Aperta, the Koyo set that's up there. So to find an original set that's brand new, is challenging to find. So.
And you're a collector of literature as well.
Yeah. So yeah, this is just, I went ahead and, Alan and I worked together, and I said, listen, let's go ahead, and I introduced him obviously to you, and that was probably about a year or two ago, and we said, hey, you want to go ahead and do it. It was great because Alan told me what his vision was. So when he told me what his vision was, the first thing I said was, well, listen, we got to bring Ben into this conversation because there's a lot of really unique things that you can add. So, I obviously have my collection, but there was things that I knew that I either had doubles or triples of, and I said, Alan, here's a chance to go ahead and add it to your collection. So,
and it's been, we've been here for 3 days. I said we took this room and there was nothing in here.
No.
And it's a real sense of achievement for everyone. It's
Yeah,
been a real family affair for the McDonnell family. We've had everyone here working on this project. So it's a great day today.
Yeah, it is. And listen, honestly, it's to see it from when I first came down here, it was a little over a year ago, and I saw this as just a plain warehouse. And we started talking about it, and he was telling me what he wanted to do. And I said, listen, you're going to build this out. And we started to talk about different shelves. I took him to see other people's collections. He looked at other collections, got an idea on shelving, what the requirements were, especially for some of the weight that you were going to need on some of this. And, it came in, and then, as you said, we came in this room. It was a plain room. I was like, okay, now let's dress it up. So we staged it. Like I said, we've been here for a couple days now. But, just even when I look over here, just to see, the 248 F1, Michael Schumacher's last car that he ran with Ferrari. And I know that this car obviously is coming up for auction, and estimates are in the $15 million area. But, you could see this is the original press kit when they released the car. This is the actual brochure with the parking pass. And on the other side, you have the models. BBR made a set of 3. They're numbered. You can look at them. They say 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. This is actually the last one, 3 of 3. They made 18 models of the exact cars that ran on the relay. And it was kind of neat because at that time I did the relay in the United States, and I was a Ferrari dealer back then, and I still am. And these were the actual decals that were put on the doors of each one of the cars. So if you zoom in on those models, you will see that there's a model number, and this was the door decal that went on every car. So it's kind of neat, to have and to be part of that. And then here we are 15 plus years later, and you still have a piece of history from the 60th anniversary, because we're coming up on 80 pretty soon.
So Alan, you picked me up from the airport a few days ago. Has, your vision from a long time ago, do you feel that you're there now? Are you pleased with everything?
I am. Well, it's really overwhelming. So, I have a lot of appreciation for Chris for entrusting this, stuff with me or to me. And, I take it serious. And, like you said, both my son and my daughter were involved with this. And I hope this is something that they appreciate for years to come. And they can make a business out of it maybe one day. And they can be just as fulfilled as I am with it.
Well, thank you for the opportunity of working with you. Thanks for giving us a guided tour. And I hope to do more business with you.
Thank you.
Cheers. So here we are in the bar area of the collection. And as you can see, we're a story up. You can see all the Ferraris behind me. Well, Chris, good to see you again. Thanks for your help. It's been a real epic week.
It was great.
We'll see you in another video.
For sure.
So it's goodbye from me. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.